Welcome back, brothers and sisters, to a riveting tale woven from the threads of history. Today, we venture into the heart of the 11th century, to the time of the Norman invasion and the pivotal Battle of Hastings, as depicted in the famous Bayeux Tapestry. This is not just a story of conquest and kings. It's a vivid portrayal of a moment that reshaped the course of English history. If this journey through time captivates you, consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support helps keep history alive, allowing us to delve deep into the many fascinating stories from our shared past. Plus, as a patron, you'll get early access, exclusive sneak peeks, and other content. Welcome to the Bayeux Tapestry. In the Kingdom of England, the venerable King Edward held council with Harold, Earl of Wessex. In the quiet solemnity of the royal chamber, King Edward expressed his wishes, entrusting Harold with a mission of great importance that bore the weight of the kingdom's future. Harold, tasked with a grave responsibility, journeyed to Bosham to commence his mission. Accompanied by his loyal knights, the air was filled with a sense of purpose and determination as they rode through the English landscape, aware of the significance of their endeavour. Before embarking on his voyage, Harold sought solace and guidance in a church at Bosham. In this sacred space he prayed for success and safe passage, hoping his actions would secure the future of his kingdom. With prayers said, Harold set sail across the sea. The journey was fraught with uncertainty, as the winds and tides of fate carried him towards the unknown. His ships cut through the waves, marking the beginning of an adventure that would etch itself into the annals of history. Harold and his men, after a journey dictated by the whims of the sea, arrived at the land ruled by Count Guy of Ponthieu. This foreign shore, unfamiliar and full of potential peril, was the first test in a series of challenges that Harold would face in his quest. As Harold set foot on the foreign land, he was met not with the diplomacy he expected, but with the cold reality of capture. Count Guy of Ponthieu, seeing an opportunity in the English noble's unexpected arrival, seized Harold, throwing his mission into jeopardy. Harold, now a prisoner, was escorted away by Guy's men. His journey, meant to strengthen ties and secure the future, had taken a dire turn. In the custody of the Count, Harold's fate hung in the balance, far from his homeland and at the mercy of a foreign lord. The journey as a captive led Harold to Beaurain, where he was detained. In this unfamiliar place, far from the comforts of his station and the safety of his land, Harold found himself a pawn in a larger game of power and politics. Despite his imprisonment, Harold's resolve remained unshaken. In Beaurain, he engaged in conversations with Count Guy. Each word, each gesture was measured, as Harold sought to turn his predicament into an opportunity, understanding that his words could shape his destiny. The tides began to turn with the arrival of messengers. These messengers came bearing news and instructions from their lord, William of Normandy, signalling his involvement in the unfolding situation. Meanwhile, in Normandy, a messenger hastily arrived at Duke William's court with news of Harold's capture by Count Guy. This information caught Duke William's attention, prompting him to consider his next course of action. Recognizing the importance of his captive, Count Guy decided to take Harold to Duke William himself. The meeting of these two influential figures, under the shadow of Harold's captivity, set the stage for a significant development. William, sensing an opportunity, escorted Harold to his palace. This change in Harold's status, from a captive to a guest under William's roof, altered the dynamics between the two men, opening new avenues in their interactions. In the midst of these political maneuvers, an enigmatic scene unfolded, involving a cleric and a woman named Alfgiver. The nature of this interaction remains unclear. Duke William, in a show of strength, led his army to Mont Saint-Michel. This gathering of forces was a display of military might and leadership, as William prepared his men for the upcoming challenges. The journey of William's army included a challenging crossing of the River Couesnon. During this crossing, Harold rescued some of William's men from quicksand, binding the two men closer together. Upon reaching Dol, William's forces encountered the troops of Conan. However, instead of engaging in battle, Conan chose to flee, shifting the balance of power and influence in the region in William's favour. Following Conan's retreat, a confrontation ensued between William's soldiers and Conan's forces at the walled town of Dinan. Consequently, Conan surrendered to William, handing over the keys of the city. This act of submission marked a significant shift in the regional power dynamics, bolstering William's position. After the battle, Duke William of Normandy presented Harold with a gift of arms. This gesture marked a pivotal moment in their relationship, signifying a blend of trust and alliance, despite the complex web of political and personal tensions that surrounded them. William returned to Bayeux, a significant town in his duchy. Bayeux was not just a political centre, but also a place where important decisions were made and strategies devised. Then Harold swore an oath to Duke William. This oath, sworn on sacred relics, was a crucial event, binding Harold to William in a promise that would have far-reaching implications in the events to follow. Harold returned to England, his journey from a captive to a man of oath complete. His return was not just a physical crossing back to his homeland, but also a step into a future that was increasingly entangled with the ambitions of Duke William. Upon his return, Harold went to see King Edward. The meeting between the ailing king and Harold, now bound by his oath to William, was a significant moment for the impending change in the English monarchy. After King Edward's passing, his body was carried with reverence to St. Peter's Church. This was the end of an era in English history and the beginning of a period of turmoil and change. In his final moments, King Edward, confined to his bed, spoke to his loyal men. These last words and directives from the dying king were crucial in the succession crisis that was about to unfold. King Edward the Confessor died, leaving behind a legacy and a throne that was the subject of much contention. Following Edward's death, Harold was offered the crown of England. In accepting this symbol of royal authority, Harold stepped into a role that was fraught with challenges and contested claims. Harold, now crowned, sat as the king of the English. His ascension to the throne was not just a personal triumph, but also a moment that would ignite the ambitions and claims of Duke William of Normandy, leading to a clash that would reshape the history of England. Archbishop Stigand, who had performed the funeral services for Edward, also crowned Harold as king. In this period of uncertainty and change, a remarkable celestial event occurred. A star, perhaps Halley's comet, appeared in the sky, eliciting awe and wonder from those who witnessed it. This celestial phenomenon was seen as an ominous sign, adding to the sense of foreboding and destiny that surrounded the events of the time. As the newly crowned King of England, Harold faced immense challenges. His rule began under complex circumstances, with the weight of his oath to Duke William and the expectations of his subjects pressing upon him. Then an English ship arrived in Duke William's territory, perhaps a messenger or a spy to inform the Duke that Harold had been crowned King of England. In preparation for his ambitious plans, Duke William ordered the construction of a fleet of ships. This massive undertaking demonstrated William's resolve to pursue his claim to the English throne and his readiness for a military campaign. Once built, the ships were hauled to the sea. The ships were loaded with weapons, provisions, and supplies, including wine. The Normans' military expedition involved meticulous planning to ensure they were well equipped for the campaign ahead. In a decisive move, Duke William and his army crossed the English Channel, landing at Pevensey. This crossing marked the beginning of the Norman Conquest of England. Upon landing, the Normans unloaded horses and other vital supplies from the ships, enabling the Norman cavalry to be an effective force in the upcoming battle. Finally, the Norman soldiers hurried to Hastings, gathering food and resources for their army. This move was part of the strategic preparations for the impending Battle of Hastings, setting the stage for one of the most famous battles in medieval history. Woodard, a Norman nobleman, was a central figure of the invading force, involved in the essential logistical arrangements for the Norman army. In their camp, preparations for a meal were underway. Servants cooked meat and tended to the needs of the army. These men, essential yet often overlooked, formed the backbone of the army, enduring hardships and contributing significantly to the campaign's success. Then a significant meal took place, with Bishop Odo blessing the food and drink. Bishop Odo, Duke William, and his half-brother Robert then gathered to discuss strategic manoeuvres and planning of all kinds. Duke William ordered the construction of a castle at Hastings, a strategic move to fortify the Normans' position. While this was going on, Duke William received information about King Harold's movements and preparations. As the Norman conquest of England escalated, a significant battle unfolded in Southwark, crucial for controlling London Bridge and the passage to the capital. William clashed fiercely with the Anglo-Saxon soldiers. Though victorious, the Normans faced stiff local resistance. In a strategic move to spread terror and disrupt the Anglo-Saxon defence, they set fire to Southwark during their withdrawal. Meanwhile, Norman soldiers departed from Hastings to engage in battle against King Harold's forces. This moment marks the transition from preparation to the actual commencement of the Battle of Hastings, a pivotal event in English history. Duke William inquired Vital, one of his close men, about Harold's army. Understanding the enemy's position and strength was essential for William's tactical planning. On the other side, a report was delivered to King Harold about Duke William's army. At this point, Harold knew he had to take a firm stand against the invading army or lose his entire kingdom. On the eve of the Battle of Hastings, Duke William rallied his troops. He addressed them with a speech that was both inspiring and strategic, preparing them for the significant battle ahead against the English army. In the brutal and chaotic combat of the Battle of Hastings, King Harold's brothers, Lewin and Gurth, fell. Their deaths were significant losses to the English side and marked a critical point in the battle. The battle raged on for many hours with both sides suffering heavy casualties. In the heart of the battlefield, where steel clashed and cries echoed, stood Bishop Odo, William's half-brother. He was clad in his warrior garments, but in his hand he held not a sword but a staff, raised towards the heavens, calling upon God to bless the Norman soldiers. Meanwhile, Duke William fought bravely, inspiring his men to give it all they had. In the midst of a tumultuous battlefield, the French, led by Duke William, engaged fiercely with Harold's men. The clashing of swords and the cries of warriors filled the air as the Normans pressed forward with relentless vigour. Amidst this chaos, Harold's allies faltered and fell one by one, their defeat a stark testament to the shifting tide of the battle. Then, amidst the clanging of swords and the war cries, a fateful moment unfolded. King Harold, the anchor of the English defence, met his end. The circumstances of his death were chaotic, shrouded in the fog of war. Some said an arrow struck his eye, others claimed a Norman knight's sword claimed his life. Regardless, Harold's fall marked a turning point in the battle. As word of Harold's death rippled through the English ranks, despair took hold. Their king and leader had fallen, leaving them leaderless and broken. Overwhelmed by the relentless Norman assault, the English forces, gripped by a sense of hopelessness, began to retreat. This marked the beginning of Norman rule in England, and would have profound effects on the country's language, culture and governance. The final scene is missing from the tapestry, but it's not unreasonable to imagine that this missing piece would have depicted William the Conqueror's coronation as King of England on Christmas Day in the year of our Lord 1066. As we draw the curtain on this tapestry of history, we hope it has brought the past to life in a way that resonates with you. Your engagement and interaction with our content are what fuel our passion for storytelling and help us keep the rich tapestry of history alive in the digital age. If you feel inspired to support our work further, our Patreon community is a place where your contributions make a real difference. Your support ensures the continuation of our work, and yes, there are perks and benefits waiting for you as a token of our gratitude. Find the link in the description to join us in our endeavour to keep history's fascinating stories coming. Every bit of support counts, whether it's through Patreon, sharing our videos, or simply joining the conversation. Thank you for being part of this journey, and until next time, keep the flame of history burning bright.